All right, I completely messed up that introduction, but it doesn't matter because we have much, much better stuff going on today other than me messing up the opening track. My name is Tom Osa, but more importantly, you are on All Things Sports with our host, Tom Brady from Rockland County, New York. Tom, thanks for joining us, and take it away with All Things Sports.
Thank you, Tom. And yes, we are back with another segment of All Things Sports here on Rockland News. Welcome in, everybody. And I always want to start off by, thanking the people who make this possible for us. Some of our big sponsors out there who have done a lot for us here at Rockland News and All Things Sports. We always want to recognize Dana Pest Control, Yabu Fence Company, the Flowery Cannabis Dispensary, and of course, the New York Boulders, Rockland Boulders here in Rockland. So we're going to begin our sports podcast right there with the Rockland Boulders. Let's talk about, the only professional team here in Rockland. It is, 1/100th of the cost of going to any major league park. It is baseball. If you're a baseball fan, you got a family. It is absolutely an amazing place to go. You can either plan the night out or it's a last second pivot. If they have a home game, nice weather, go over to the stadium. If you have young kids, they have a playground for the kids to play around in. There's a train that goes around the stadium for the kids to jump in. For the adults, they have, and myself included, who's a fan of some IPAs, they have a good selection of IPAs, guys. So guys and girls, so the adult beverages are there, for everybody to have a good time. So, and what we should do is, definitely let's get out there and support the Boulders, because for those of you who haven't been to a game or don't follow them, listen, our Boulders are sitting in first place. Here we are, we're getting through almost to the back end of the season. We got the dog days of summer that they call, and, starting August 1st, with the independent/minor league system, their season does end at the end of August with the playoffs in early September. So basically a month ago, our Boulders is sitting there in first place. So let's get out and support them. Let's get out and, have a good time with your family. They do have fireworks also after some of the games. So we got a slim lead in first place over, I guess you can call our close rival, the New Jersey Jackals, right next door. So let's get out there on NewYorkBoulders.com. We'll give you all the information, places to get, tickets. So get your family, get your friends out there. Great night out. Or even during the summertime, they do have the day games because they get some of the camps there, and their day games do start at like 11 a.m. So if you are home during the day, you take a ride over the Boulders from 11 to 2 and go take in a baseball game even before everybody else gets home from work at 5 o'clock. So just a great experience and great part of the professional sports scene that we have here in Rockland County. So sticking with a little bit of the baseball, we have a big congratulations going out today. The Havistraw 11U girls softball team, they won the District 18 championship this year. They qualified for the state tournament, and they made it all the way to the state semifinals before their season finally came to an end. So the 11U softball all-stars from Havistraw, if you get a chance, you'll see North Rockland community Facebook pages, go put a blurb out there, go congratulate the girls on an absolute, incredible and amazing season. That's what we want to do here. Bring some attention to what's going on in our community and get everybody together and, shoot them a blurb on Facebook is a great way. North Rockland community pages or anything up in that area. Sticking with the Little League scene, some big happenings right now. Starting today, Friday, July 24th, the New York State 12-year-old Little League Baseball Championships are being held in Rockland County. It's a week-long tournament. They're being held at Jermons Park, home of the West Nyack Little League. So again, it's a 1 week long tournament, starts today, ends next Friday, the 31st. So let's get out there, support the young guys. All right. Because the team who does win this tournament, advances to regional and national tournaments. So you can maybe see the stars of tomorrow here. So the best of the best in New York of the 12-year-olds are right here in Rockland for the next week. So if you have nothing to do one night, take a ride over to Mons Park and West Nyack, home in the West Nyack Little League fields, and go ahead and get out there and support them. Again, we talk about support. I love to get into the people who support us. And some of our sponsors, they have some great ways to say, hey, if you've never been to us, hey, come try these deals. So if you mention Rockland News for our following sponsors, get out there, you get something for it, okay? Kobe Sushi, the Jazz Music Lounge, they have music Wednesday, Friday, Saturday nights. Mention Rockland News, and you get a 15% off coupon off, I believe it's about a $75 or more ticket. So take one or two people there, and you'll easily hit that amount and have a great time. Nice, relaxing evening, great food. Fiesta Acapulco, mention Rockland News, you get a free coquito, all right? So go ahead, get a free drink, and mention Rockland News. Breakpoint Bowling, mention Rockland News and get a free $10 arcade card. So we're always looking for things to do with our kids during the summertime. If they don't have, if they're not at a camp or anything, you're always looking for something, there you go. Breakpoint Bowling is basically almost like a Dave & Buster's if nobody's been up there, up in Haverstraw. So good time, take the kids up there. One of our other sponsors, Whole Shot Bagels in Haverstraw around 9W. Mention Rockland News, and if you're a first-time customer, you get a free bagel. So go ahead and stop in there at Whole Shot Bagels up in Haverstraw. And Mad Tea Party Productions, fun, affordable photo booths. Mention Rockland News and get 10% off your next photo booth rental. So we want to, thank the people who support us here at All Things Sports and here on Rockland News. So we are almost in the dog days of summer. And the last podcast, I definitely bringing up, people love to get out, and some people who haven't been as active as they wanted to be, this is always the best time and the most likely time where people start a walking program, a jogging program, a running program. We've given you a few training tips in the past, watch your hydration, watch your salt, okay? Take your salt intake, because again, when you sweat, you lose a lot of salt. That's what gets in your eyes. That's what gets in your mouth. All those little things, the health tips that you want to, for especially the beginners that you want to take in. So when we talk about people starting to get in shape, it's nice weather. When it comes down to strength training, and I want to keep this as basic as I can, just for most people to understand it. Now we have athletes, of course, that we're always focusing on sports, and athletes definitely train a certain way. How does the common, the rest of the public want to train? They want to just train to be in shape. If they don't have any type of specific goals, they want to either lose weight or they want to get rid of some of their tight or weak muscles, just become more active and get a strong, balanced program made for them. So when you see an athlete training in a gym, chances are they are programmed for certain times of the year. Okay. I'm not saying you copy them, you don't copy them, but some of their moves are definitely a little bit more complex for the beginner. So you definitely have to work up your way. Just don't see an athlete in your gym or look up a YouTube video online and say, hey, I'm going to try that. There's a little bit more to that. You got to make sure all the joints in your body are able to handle complex movements. So when we talk about like training for speed or training, what we call volume or size, that's the structure of people always ask, well, how many reps, how many sets, how many this, how many, what do I do? So when you see an athlete training for speed or someone training for speed or someone training for power, like a power lifter, those are the people that you'll see doing real heavy weights, maybe 1, 2, 3 reps. And yes, that's a speed program, okay? Because it takes, it's a violent action and it takes a fast movement to get a heavy weight off the floor or over your head or off your chest or pulling it towards you. So that is training for speed, that high power, and training for maximal strength. The movement needs to be fast because you're not going to pull a heavy weight off the floor very slowly. So what you want to do is, you want to do it as fast as you can. So you got to make sure your body's ready to do it. This is how so many injuries come out of a gym. When you talk to chiropractors and orthopedic surgeons, and they talk to you about how the common person, it comes into their office, not like the athlete or somebody who is in some type of acute accident, who is the person coming in. It's the person who looked up a YouTube video or saw somebody else do something that looked cool, but their bodies aren't ready for it. So you got to make sure your training has progression. And if you are confused about any of that, I'm a strength and conditioning specialist. I'm be glad to help anyone. Best way to reach me, strengthcoachtjb@gmail.com. That's strengthcoachtjb@gmail.com. So when we talk about training for speed, there's another thing that everybody pretty much does is train for volume. Especially the young, I use the young men. I throw them under the bus a lot, but they're in the gym. You probably see them doing bicep curls 2 or 3 times a week, and you probably see them doing the bench press 2 or 3 times a week. They want to train the muscles that they see in the mirror, and they always forget about the more important part, everything that's behind them. Everything that controls our posture and actually all our power and strength comes from your posterior chain, not the things that you're looking at in the mirror. But when you train for volume and for looks, that's where you actually use a slightly lighter weight. Intensity wise, we like to gauge it, say 40 to 60%, and that's based on what you're able to do at a maximal level. So, but you want to add in the repetitions. People do 10, 12, 15 repetitions. So that lightweight, high repetition creates a volume of blood and oxygen to a muscle that creates size. So I want to more target the women on this one, because a lot of women go to the gym and say, I don't want to be bulky. I'm just going to lift light weights. Well, if you do a light weight repetitively, you are going to become bulky. You are going to train yourself to add some size. Now, for women, it's a lot different because of the estrogen, testosterone levels. If a female's goal was to be a female bodybuilder, I would actually explain to them how difficult that is to become for you. Whereas a male walked in the gym, I could say, hey, in 2 years, we can get you, doing some bodybuilding. Where a female walked in, depending on what their background is, I would literally explain to them how difficult it is for them to achieve. But women go in and say, I don't want to be bulky, and then they train to be bulky. So they get a little confused on that. So how do they train? They should definitely mix it up. That's how I believe everything I just spoke about, how the whole CrossFit came in. It definitely mixed in some very good functional movements with athletic movements. Their coaches were trained after a very reputable, basically a global physical therapist named Kelly Starrett. He helped reshape their program after they launched, and then it became reputable to coaches like myself. When it was first launched, we were very, very, very skeptical of their approach of how you take somebody off the street and then you got them doing snatches over the head. Like, no. But again, the owner, the person who developed CrossFit met with this guy, Kelly Starrett. Look him up. He's everywhere. And Kelly helped reshape his program where they showed progression and they took the beginner off the street. So that's exactly what you need to do. Everybody who goes to work out, especially when you go to pick up a weight, you need to have A, a plan, B, make sure you're progressing, and C, make sure your body's able to do what it is you're trying to do and you don't hurt yourself. And that's the worst thing possible is, waking up early, getting to the gym, trying to bust your butt, but yet you suffer an injury. And we don't want to see anybody go through that. So if any of that causes confusion for you, again, my direct contact, strengthcoachtjb@gmail.com. So when we talk about training, athletics or the common person, one of the most important aspects of any successful training program, and it doesn't get enough, in my opinion, doesn't get enough importance and enough people talking about it. And I talk to health coaches and strength coaches all the time. And, we even ourselves have to remind ourselves to remind our clients. But the number one thing to help all this happen is your rest and your sleep. Okay. Your sleep is basically a requirement for you to achieve any physical goal that you want. You need to rest. Now, what does it do? It balances off your hormone levels, because you have to understand, when you work out, you're stressing your body and your body is out of whack. And when you work out, you're actually tearing muscle fibers. You get stronger, you get bigger, you get faster as you rest, and those muscle fibers heal. And they heal either, elongated or sizable wise, stronger, or you get more force that was developed depending on your training, and you'll be able to be a little bit stronger. So the benefits of sleep are absolutely, it's mandatory to be successful, especially in a high level type of training program. So not only does it balance off your hormones, but it boosts your immune system. So what does that do? Well, just what I talked about, working out stresses your body. So you could walk into the gym, and we all know your immune system. You could have a slight cold but not know it yet. And then after you work out, you can walk out and you say, well, how did I get a runny nose? Oh, I caught a cold in the gym. No, you probably had it walking in there. And your immune system was fighting it, doing its job. And then all of a sudden you stressed your body, and then all of a sudden it's coming out. So what you want to do with the rest and the sleep, what's the first thing you do when you get sick is rest and sleep. So it'll boost up your immune system also. So on the physical side, those are just, a quick two blurbs about how sleep is mandatory. On the mental health side, it does, phenomenal things. And this is something that you've already experienced probably. It'll improve your mood. It actually boosts your memory. Okay. We won't forget where we put our keys when we walk through the door, from work, things like that. I mean, I wish I could say that every day, but yeah, a good night's sleep does help that. And it also helps your clarity of thought, so you want to make sure, that's our goal every day, just as being humans, is we want to make sure we approach the day with some clarity in what we're doing, whether it's, family, work, training, whatever it is. We want to make sure we are dialed into what we're doing. So, those are your training tips for today. One of the other things I do want to talk about, I mentioned the last one, is we do get out and walk and run. And if some people say, oh, a lot of people say, I can't hire a professional coach, I can't afford it. And listen, that's fine. We have groups, and I mentioned it last time, like, the Rockland Roadrunners group. If you're looking for somebody to join, especially if you're the beginner runner, get out there with people. They got experience levels from the first time runner to people who have run a dozen marathons. Okay. And they have a schedule set every week. They have basically weekly runs set up on their website. Look up the Rockland Roadrunners website, join a community, people I know that are part of it. The camaraderie over there is, beyond, second to none. And they absolutely love it. So you'll be able to run with people, join a community. Like I said, I know they have weekly runs that are scheduled. It's like on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and I believe they go across the Tappan Zee Bridge. So they go over and back. So if you're the beginner runner, or even if you're the advanced and you're looking for, to do it with people, and you've been doing it by yourself for a while, look at joining, now Rockland Roadrunners, great community, and great Rockland organization. So, and with that, I do want to, thank again the people who make all this happen for us. Some of our other sponsors, some great businesses, the UPS store in West Haverstraw, Stony Point Massage, North Rockland Chiropractic, 99 Signs, Ivy Rehab Physical Therapy in West Haverstraw, FZ Perfection Auto Body Repair in Congers, and Clean Space Maintenance and Management Company. We always want to thank those people who help us. So here we are, about to get into the dog days of summer. Coming up, the next few podcasts pretty soon, we are going to be diving into all the fall sports. We do have a couple local colleges for people who forget about that. And obviously high school sports. We know high school sports in Rockland County are absolutely huge. So we're lining up to get some coaches, some ADs, even a few of the players that are training hard, going into their last few weeks of training, especially you college athletes. You know, you're entering any, especially if you're going to a Southern school, Southern college, you're probably leaving in the next 7 to 10 days to report for camp. So we wish anybody who's venturing off to that, we wish you all the best. Always stay in touch with Rockland, and go ahead, come back, email me, let me know your story, where you are, what sport you're playing. I would love to get your story here, on All Things Sports here in Rockland News. So look forward to that. Look forward to, a big August coming up with all the fall sports ready to kick off. And I want to thank not only all our sponsors again, but I want to thank you, the listener, and giving us the platform here to do all things sports here in Rockland News. And I am your host, Tom Brady, and we will see you next time here on All Things Sports. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate every time that you're on All Things Sports, and that episode is going to be available on Apple as well as Spotify shortly. Tom Brady is available every Friday for All Things Sports, and you can catch him on this station, Rockland's News, which is available on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and YouTube, and you can catch it live, unfiltered, before the podcast comes out and before anybody else can get access to the awesome information. My name is Tom Osa. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Rockland's News today, and we'll catch you for the next one. Take care for now.